I am implementing the feast and famine theory of reward, or, that is, beast and canine, or, that is, the drought and flood model, particularly as it was implemented around the Black Sea many millennia ago, cardinal to the Bosporus and Troy. More modernly, there is the canal that snakes across the deserts, where one can see the floods collect along its eastern edge and soak the soil deeply. Consequently, on this eastern side, there is a mesquite tree forest, and the floor is cool. On the western side, it is bare and hot and stretches out towards sands. In my famine or drought, I exist in the yellow land of the west, wandering and like kicking the dust up. It makes clouds behind me, and then it dries out. In this famine west, I busy myself with what the desert hands me. I look at the grass and say my claims to it. It is like crunchy, and under it there is shade for a beetle. The cactus has lots of needles, and hanging from the tips of some of them are swelling red fruits that smell sweetly, although I have never ate one. Sometimes I find cactuses where each needle ends in a cricket or a mouse, and I turn and see a long-beaked shrike, shining its eyes at me and licking its lips. And finally, there are the tortoises, and you can tell by the soft dips in the sand, and I only knock on the ground to let them know I'm there, and that their bladders should remain full, because for as far as I can tell, the pressure is still high. I can feel it beating on me and all that. I am not as friends with the toads. I rake the soil for them and squeeze them like sponges, croaking the moisture out of them into my red mouth and tossing them up. In my feast or flood, that is, I walk across the canal, and there are big buttressed trees where moss collects in bulging clumps. And during the day it is actually night time, and I find a jaguar or turtle that is swimming in the river, and I eat every fruit that is hanging from tree. The sky boils always, and it's syruping down all the days and nights. The nature is such that of course since the hills angle down there are rivers, and these rivers join and coagulate into big ponds where islands form their centers. And on these islands there are fountains where muck collects and brown stinks. We take the stink and like rub it on our faces deeply, and we squish around in circles as the fire sends up smoke above the canopy. This land is a flesh pot, and as this sort of beast or manatee, I cannot help but collect all of this flesh and like absorb it into me and that sort of thing. I have collect enough salt in the yellow land for to make this the easy process. Like, I just sit in a puddle and stare around with my eyes quite wide and my hands out, and naturally I collect. But after a time, I can hold no longer, and I am vomiting and fall face down into the wide mouth of this green python. I am wake up back in the yellow world, and now rocks and sands are in my ears, and I shake them out, and I observe as I did the cactus and grass, and though I notice the dark under the red rock from where my eyes could catch all, I sag out further, and consider the root and all that. So I collect rocks and strips to place them good like, and I pile it up until the sun scales down on it for fun and stuff. I put the last grain, and I clasp my eyes for days. When I woke, there was a shrike on the pile, and I walked up to it, but it was facing away from me, shrieking out this jagged song real long like. So I spit on it and smashed it to a weeping paste, and then I painted on the pile with it. And I am laid there, and I beheld it, and lying prostrate basking, I believed that I could act in this way forever. But soon I am screaming so loud that they will no longer have me, and so I am guided back east, where the howling seems to come only from the rivers.